Hi everyone. Today we're going to have a look at roots of unity, which is our cube root, fourth root, fifth root, eighth root, 100th root, whatever you like, of 1. And sometimes we apply this to -1 as well. So what happens when we use our process for finding the roots of complex numbers and apply it to 1 is that we get some cool factorizations and some interesting properties that we like to explore. So let's go over our process for finding the roots of a complex number to find the cube roots of unity to begin with. So we're going to look at z cubed equals 1. Obviously we know that one of these numbers is just going to be 1 because we know from way back when we first learned about powers that 1 cubed is 1. But we now know from complex numbers that there's going to be 2 other roots in there and they're going to be complex, so that these can be evenly spaced around our argand diagram. So if we know that one of them is going to be 1, we can pretty much picture where the other 2 are going to be. So if z cubed equals 1, I'm going to rewrite 1 in polar form, which is 1 cis 0, because the angle is 0 because this is sitting right on the real axis. And I used de Moivre's theorem to rewrite z cubed as r cubed cis 3 theta. I'm going to say r cubed is equal to 1 because that's the modulus in front of this number, which means r is 1. And we could have already guessed that the modulus of these 3 roots is going to be 1 because we know that the first root is going to be just 1 on the real axis. Okay, then we'll look at the argument. 3 theta, well, it's equal to 0. And then we can just add on 2 pi, 4 pi, 6 pi, as many as you like. You can probably leave out that top line. And then I know that eventually I'm going to get some repetition when I change these to principal arguments. So I'll start by dividing them all by 3. I get 0, 2 pi on 3, 4 pi on 3, 2 pi, etc. As principal arguments, that is 0, 2 pi on 3, minus 2 pi on 3, which makes sense because these two should be evenly spaced from 0. And then this is where I get my repetition because 2 pi as a principal argument is 0. So I can stop there and get rid of that one. So I have the modulus of the roots, I've got the 3 arguments of the roots. That means my 3 roots, z1, z2, z3, are going to be 1 cis 0, which I'm just going to write as 1, cis 2 pi on 3, and cis minus 2 pi on 3. So the cool thing that happens with the cube roots of unity is that if I take one of these roots and I square it, then I know using de Moivre's theorem that means I'll get 1 squared cis 2 times that angle, so 4 pi on 3. And if I change that to a principal argument, I actually get the other complex root. I can do the same with the third root of unity. I can square the modulus, double the angle, and when I make that a principal argument, I get cis 2 pi on 3. So what this means is that if I'll use omega, or just w if you like, if w is a non-real cube root of unity, then w squared is another one. This is actually the lowercase Greek letter omega, but it's easier to write as a w. So that means that I can write the cube roots of unity as 1, the first one that I found, omega and omega squared, or w and w squared. With these roots being written in that way, I actually have some properties that I can now explore. So we'll have a look at a question that uses these properties. So if w is a non-real cube root of unity, show that 1 plus w squared equals 0, and deduce that 1 plus w cubed, 1 plus 2w plus 2w squared equals 1. So I have that w is a non-real cube root of unity, so it's not the 1, it's one of the other two. So it must satisfy the equation z cubed equals 1. What that means is I can take that all to one side, z cubed minus 1 equals 0, and I can factor out the root that I know is there. So I can take out z minus 1, because if 1 is a cube root of 1, or if 1 satisfies this equation, then a linear factor must be z minus 1. Now you can either use long division or just filling in the gaps to work out that the other factor here must be z squared plus z plus 1. Now that means that since w satisfies this equation, because w cubed equals 1, that means it must satisfy this bottom rewritten equation. So if z squared plus z plus 1 equals 0, using my null factor theorem, then that means w squared plus w plus 1 must equal 0, because we know that the w is not the 1, so it doesn't fit into this first bracket. Okay, that's the first part of the question. Show that 1 plus w squared equals 0. And now the second part says deduce this statement here. I'm going to start with the w squared plus w plus 1 equals 0. So the bit that I just found, because I'm assuming it will be important for the second part of the question. So I'm going to try and turn this into this bracket, and hopefully the rest will just work out. So I've got w plus 1 in the first part of my expression here. So I'm going to leave w plus 1 on the left and take w squared to the other side. I've got 1 plus w cubed, so I'm going to cube this. And if I cube it, I cube both sides. I've got what I want on the left. Let's make it a little bit easier on the right. I know that if I cube a negative, it's just going to be a negative. And I'm actually going to rearrange the powers here, because these two are equivalent. Because I know that w cubed is equal to 1, because it satisfies that original equation. So what I've just proved is that w plus 1 all cubed is equal to minus 1, because we know that w cubed equals 1. Okay, now I'm going to start with this expression. I'm going to try and turn it into 1 plus 2w plus 2w squared. And I think the easiest way to do that is going to be to just chuck some 2's in there. So I'm doubling both sides of that equation. I can see that I only need 2w squared plus 2w plus 1, which means that I'll have to take one of the 1's to the other side. So that means both these expressions equal minus 1. So when I multiply them, like the question asks, I've got minus 1 times minus 1, which equals 1. And that's what we had to show. So just using these properties of the roots of unity, I can prove and show properties that a question is asking. And this will work for fourth roots of unity, fifth roots of unity, etc. Okay, let's have a look at another one that gets slightly more convoluted, but only because of the algebra. So if w is a complex cube root of unity, so it's not the 1, it's one of the other two, prove this statement. Okay, so I'm going to start with those two fractions, 1 on 1 plus w plus 1 on 1 plus w squared. And I think the easiest way to go is going to be common denominator. So I'll get 1 plus w squared in my denominator. I can simplify that numerator into w squared plus w plus 2 over, and I'll expand the denominator, 1 plus w squared plus w cubed. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to force out of here an expression that I know equals 0. So I know that w squared plus w plus 1 equals 0, because we showed it in the previous question. And I'm also going to take the same out of the denominator. So w squared plus w plus 1, and I've got this random w cubed on the end. So now I've got 0 plus 1 over 0 plus w cubed, and that equals 1 on w cubed, and we know w cubed is 1, so this is 1 on 1, or 1. I lied about this being more convoluted. I was actually thinking about the next question. That one's quite nice. So I just force out of there some expressions that I know, and then I can simplify from there. Okay, the next one's pretty heavy on the algebra. So we're going to factorize z to the 5 minus 1 over real numbers. So all our linear factors have to involve only real numbers. There cannot be an I in there anywhere. So if I'm factorizing it, I'll start with z to the 5 minus 1 equals 0, which means z to the 5 equals 1. So we're looking for the fifth roots of unity. So I can follow the same process. Using de Moivre's theorem, z to the 5 equals r to the 5 cis 5 theta, which is equal to 1, and we know that that is 1 cis 0. Okay, to find my arguments, I know 5 theta must be 0, and then I'll just add on some extra swings around the Argand diagram, divide them all by 5, and then turn them all into principal arguments. Now you'll notice that we have complex conjugates here. So I've got 2 pi on 5 and minus 2 pi on 5. I've got 4 pi on 5 and minus 4 pi on 5. And we could also have recognized up here that that is a polynomial with real coefficients, which means my roots will come in complex conjugate pairs. So if the coefficients of the equation are real, they'll always come as matching pairs. Okay, I've pre-written these. So my 5 roots are 1 cis 2 pi on 5, cis minus 2 pi on 5, cis 4 pi on 5, and cis minus 4 pi on 5. They would be nicely evenly spaced around the Argand diagram if we decided to draw them. So the question asks us to factorize this, which means we're going to have z minus each of those things in brackets, in the same way that if 2 was a factor of an equation, when I factorized, I would have x minus 2 in there somewhere. So in brackets, I'll have z minus each of these things. And I've written all that out to save some time. Okay, what happens now is, because the question asks us to factorize this over real numbers, I'm going to match these up in pairs. because this will actually get rid of any I in there. And we only want real numbers, so there can't be an I anywhere in there. No imaginary parts. So if I take cis 2 pi on 5 and cis minus 2 pi on 5, and I do a bit of algebra with this, it actually turns out to be a real number. So, I've pre-written all this, and it took me a very long time. So, I've got z minus cis 2 pi on 5 is just cos 2 pi on 5 plus I sine 2 pi on 5. Taking away both of those because I've already expanded out the minus. And then the same with minus 2 pi on 5. So I've just written that out the long way so I can show that the i's cancel out. Okay, I have simplified cos and sine over here using the fact that cos is an even function, sine is an odd function. And then I have expanded this whole thing. Let me get rid of some highlighting here so I can explain this. Okay, so when I expand that, I've got a plus iz 2 pi on 5 and a minus iz sine 2 pi on 5. Then my other term with an I, I've got a positive and negative one, so they cancel out as well. Then I can collect some like terms. I've got z there, and I have cos squared 2 pi on 5, so no z, and no z here either. Those are my constant terms, and you can probably already see what's going to happen with those. So, got z squared at the front. These two terms will combine to give me minus 2z cos 2 pi on 5, and then cos squared of an angle plus sine squared of the same angle equals 1. So those two complex linear factors have simplified down into a real factor. Now, the same happens with the other conjugate pair, but it takes a very long time to write all that out, so I have skipped that. So, I can then take those two brackets and turn them into 1 so that this is factorized over real numbers. Okay, so that is a slightly longer question using the fifth roots of unity, but you can see this is just an extension of finding roots of complex numbers, but with some pretty cool properties that we get to prove.